Good morning all, hope you're having a cracking Monday morning. We're getting into the last game of the round, the Eels v the Dogs here for Draftstars. And then we're going to go through the review for the week. We're starting with Origin preview I did, and then heading in through the rest of the games that I played there. And we'll have a bit of a chat. So to start off with the outside backs here, with the Eels, I think the biggest one to pick here, the biggest guy, the most important guy, is going to be Will Penasini at 13,680. So he's had a really great really couple of months, to be honest. He's had a 32.7 as his lowest score, and if you're getting that at a minimum for a guy that's 13,680, you'll cop that. Anything above that, if you can get that try that he picked up a couple of weeks ago, his first one, second of the year, then he's going to have a great game. And up against the Dogs, I think he has a great chance to do that. Someone like Clint Gutherson could come out and have a good game as well, but he's a little bit more inconsistent. You'll have his games where he got 11 last week, the 30, the 22. So I think Penasini has more of a chance of getting that consistent score, and one that you need to then potentially win this game. So Gutho, also a half an option. Guys like Adokar and Averillo, also solid options, with Averillo being back at the fullback position now. He had a solid game last week and won the week before as well. And I think Adokar is obviously, when he's scoring tries, is doing really well, but I'm not sure how well they're going to go against the Eels this week. So in terms of his scoring, I can see him getting closer to that 25 to 35 without a try this week. But if he obviously happens to get one, they have a couple of good sets of six and can get him a meaty, then I think at 12,900 he'll be okay as well. But they're those two. But the biggest one we want to be talking about is Micah Stevo. So obviously no games played this year. He's coming back off a big injury, but obviously being out in the wing, if he can get a couple of overlaps, they've got to go to him. He's obviously too big, too strong, but the majority of the time, and is an incredible finisher. So if he can pick up a try or two, the sky's the limit for him. And at $9,000, there's no real risk there. At a minimum, you're going to get that 25 from him, just with 150 meters run and the odd tackle break or two. So I think Micah is a great option this week. And if you want to fit in a couple of the big players, then you have to play Stevo this week. So how I looked at this, we've got potentially obviously the two top dogs here in Moses and Burton, and then we've got a couple of top dogs in Papali'i and Madison. I think you can only select two in total. So if you wanted to go both of these guys in the forwards, then that's fair. But if you wanted to go for the Burton or Moses combo, I think that makes sense also, because the rest of the guys are fairly well expensive. Anything over 17,000 is any of the guys that you'd like to pick, because Moses, Burton, as the top dogs, been scoring incredibly well. There's a chance that Brown doesn't play. I heard that he's carrying that foot injury that he had a little bit in that game. He wouldn't have played last week and potentially might not play today. So I'm happy just to leave him out this week. Then you got Reid and Jeremy Marshall-King, who both have been scoring well. And if you need a Dogs player, if you've got the maximum of 6 in the Eels, which is a good chance, then Jeremy Marshall-King could be a solid one. Also with Reid, he's been playing great and averaging pretty well in the mid-50s for the last bunch of weeks, which is great. So great options there. Moses, obviously goal kicking. If they have a big game, then he could really dominate. And then Burton's been killing it lately, but how's he going to go up against a better side than he's played the last bunch of weeks? And the Eels basically had no Origin players apart from Madison. So I think that they're going to come out firing and ready to dominate. Okay, forwards to finish up. We've got Papali'i and Madison. I think Madison's probably your go, even with him backing up from Origin. It is 5 days in between games, so this is very normal kind of backup for a lot of these, players anyway, week to week. So Madison, I don't think is going to have too much of an issue of scoring well and playing the normal minutes that he would. Maybe a 5 to 10 minute less, but again, maybe. I think there's a great chance he just comes out and does his thing. Papali'i is obviously, speaks for himself in terms of his output. Your guys like Max King now, who are interesting because they've been playing really well and their prices, creeping up because they're doing well. The main issue here is Tavita Pangai Jr. is going to be on the interchange bench. He's been named to play now in the final in the 24-hour team list before. So we'll wait until finals. If he's definitely playing, then I think he's going to take a bunch of Max King's minutes, which would push him away and out of contention for a spot. Because if he was playing, you'd be selecting him straight away. Okay, Josh Jackson's the next one to potentially pick up, and I think you can expect the low 50s from him this week, even with Tavita Pangai playing, because he's going to be on the edge there for the majority of the game. Paulie Vaughn is an interesting one. I think you probably have to select a top dog in this group, and then potentially a guy in the middle. And I think, Paul Vaughn, somewhere over that 40 mark will be solid at a minimum, and if you can get anywhere around the 50 mark, you'll be happy with that output. Shawnee Lane's obviously another great option there. I think that he could, if you have picked a Dogs player somewhere else and you want to go for Shawnee Lane in this position as well, I think that he would work really well at 15,090. Great chance of scoring a try in this game. We'll be up against Josh Jackson though, so obviously a great defender, but Shawnee's got a little bit more footwork, so potentially could get past him in that way. But 56 and 62 his last two. He's doing really well. Tavita I wouldn't touch this week. You got Campbell Gillard who's coming off a big Origin game, and he's been a bit up and down in his scoring, hence why he's been down to 12,000. And the most important one in this grouping is going to be Raymond for Mariner. So last week got the 31.7, got the 52 minutes, and that was without any real attacking stats. So if this week he can get an extra 8 to 10 minutes, I think around that 60 mark would be ideal. If not, a little bit more, then he could get somewhere around that 35 to 45 this week. And I think at that price point, you'd be silly not to pick him up. So that's that really. The other options at the cheap price point are all real consistent mid-20s guys. So nothing too exciting there. But generally, you got Chris Bartolo, but he, again, has a high score of 30 this year. Nothing too exciting. If you need in the flex, if you want to go really high, I had a little play myself. If you need to go really high in the halves and the wing and the forwards, then potentially going someone like Carraz could come out, and if he snuck a try at 9,000 bucks, could be a decent one as well. So that's that game there. We'll jump into my contest there, and we'll talk about the Origin to start off with. I had a couple of teams in there. Was doing really well at the start. For example, my official team was this first one. Yeah, cool. So went for, big one. Ruben Cotter was the most important guy that we were looking to select in this one, just given he was going to be playing some good minutes. And he performed really well, and Payne Haas was the other. So they were the two guys I was speaking about. I thought To'o was a solid one, and that worked out really well with the 51 points. I just thought Ponga would come out and do really well. And this person that won picked Whiten, who had a cracking game. Going a little bit lighter with DCE would have worked well with the 70. Completely understand. I didn't expect the bigger game from Liam Martin and the bigger minutes there. And then Munster with 82 was also a great option. So if you had a mixture of those guys, then that was great. My main issue was picking Isaiah Yeo. I based a lot of me winning this game around Isaiah. I think he'd be able to get a 50 to 60, and the 39 kind of cooked us a little bit there, with along with just missing out on Ponga. So that were the two real ones that stuffed us up, and I went for Campbell Gillard at that cheaper price rather than going for Kafusi. So there's a few things there, but well done to RB with that beautiful photo there for winning the 4,000 bucks, and that was a nice 40,000 guaranteed for that Origin one, and I'm keen for the next one to pop up. Okay, I played the Cowboys Dragons one. I just thought there was a bit of value in there for me anyway, as a potential way to do well. And the Dragons there, they just weren't very good at all, and picking Cody Ramsey was a decent option if they played okay, but they didn't. So getting Drinky in there with Holmes would have been great. Robson was a clear must-have along with Taumalolo, so that worked out great. But just the loss of Hylam Lukey early in this game, he got a line break early and then didn't do much from there. McLean was fine, but picking Moses Sully on that, for someone that we thought that the Cowboys would do pretty well and beat them, they did. But Sully had a great game there with 72 points. So I picked Amone over him after he'd had a couple of good games and could continue that. He did have the one try assist, but that wasn't enough. So well done to this team here, even picking Blake Laurie as his 42, and did, and at the cheaper point, getting the 32 and still won. So well done to that fella that won that one. And we had a couple of my three games that I played. Following that, the Tigers v Eagles, I've been solid without doing well. Just went the free one in this one, just to get it in while I was out busy. But big one here was Gruben Garrick. I spoke about him as being a really important player. Tuipulotu was a solid one at a cheaper price point after he had a rough game last week. Garner, obviously the cheaper price point. Ola Kawatu, I spoke about being a must-have, just how important he would be. And Davey again at that cheap price point. I went for Marty Tapau. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for me. But generally, the picks were pretty solid in this one. Form was okay. I missed out on Laurie and also Marty Tapau. So Dane obviously had been playing really well since he's come back, and it just didn't happen this game. So even Ken Mamalo had a solid game, way better than Laurie, for example. So that was that one. Well done if you did well in that one there. The Knights v the Panthers with the next one I played. Again, went solid in my picks in this one. I went sneaky with Dom Young at a cheaper price point. That was a bit of a lucky one, just hoping that he'd be able to sneak a couple of good games, and Brian To'o was the way to go. Unfortunately, I had a little bit too less amount of money. I wanted to get Cleary in my side, which obviously worked out with the 90, but if I didn't get Cleary in, I would have had To'o and Tungo there instead of Dom Young. So I would have got the extra 30, which is would have been helpful, but not wouldn't have broke the bank anyway. Jerome Luai 42, Clem with 50, Leota with 44 was great. Eisenhuth was weird. He only got the one stint, so he was killing it, over a point a minute. And then unfortunately didn't get to play the rest of the game. So that was kind of the loss there. But in terms of the other ones, Kikau getting a try was great. Pretty much anyone in the Broncos in the Panthers side did really well and snuck a try in there. So that was good. And then the last one I played, the Warriors v the Sharks. I had a good game in this one in terms of my selections. 32 out of 312 there in the top 10%. And Talakai, great one. I finally got a bit of space and got over. Hines was okay, to be honest, without being spectacular. Rudolph was solid. I just had the Royce Hunt cheaper guy along with Matt Moylan and Jack Murchie. So I'd spent up in the other sections and found it a little bit difficult to fit in the extra cash elsewhere. With Hines, I felt being a must-have it and a good chance of getting like a 90 or 100. The team that didn't have him obviously could pick better players around that, whereas Hines, we needed that 80 plus, I think, this week, and 66 was okay without being able to kill it. So yeah, you can see that they used Wade Egan over Hines, lost out on 7 points, but then was able to play McInnes over Hunt, and that was the difference there. So makes sense, and sometimes you got to take that gamble. If you're playing multiple teams too, you can do that. You're like, all right, I'm going to make a team without Hines in it, and if he has a shocker, if he gets injured or whatever, I'm going to really dominate. And then if I pick the team with Hines, if he gets a 90 or 100, I'm obviously going to do really well and go from there. So that's a little bit of a strategy is what you can do, playing multiple teams, given you can, obviously the fun one you can't, but the other ones it's 10 to 20 for majority of those selections. But there you go, guys. That's the review show along with today's game. So make sure you hit that sign up button down below. Get out there and get into this game, and I hope you have a good one. See you guys.